After studying the anatomy of the spine, I realized that basically when discs herniate, the horses and people, the gravity helps us herniate our discs. But the horses can actually have dorsal spinal compression where they'll get bulging discs then cause disc pain. So I just developed techniques using, back in those days, both my hands and, blocks of wood to help me open up that spinal area.
And so now your treatments include, and what we'll be looking at today are 4 different treatments that you use on a regular basis for your clients and your patients. And so what we'll be talking about today is chiropractics and adjustments, and then acupuncture, your laser therapy, and kinesiotaping. So 4 different things that maybe we haven't heard of. I certainly have learned a lot today and hope that you will too, about all the different techniques and treatments that Dr. Brennan is using. First of all, we have a little video of you working on one of the horses that was racing in the Breeders' Cup in 1997, I believe, and you're using your acupuncture techniques here and treatment on that horse.
Yes.
All right, well, let's look at that video and see and get a little taste of what you do.
Well, Hidden Lakes trainer John Kimmel is a veterinarian, but to get this filly on the right track,
we have the audio.
What's going on here? Holistic medicine for horses, a 90s cure, even for things equine.
Hidden Lake, upon her arrival to the barn, presented us with some problems in that she had some chiropractic problems. Just like the humans, the spine and the pelvis sometimes are not in their proper set. And what we've done with her is we've brought in an acupuncturist, a veterinarian, and a chiropractic person, and the multiple treatments have allowed her to get her alignment back into proper position.
Hidden Lake had a lot of things out of position. She wears magnetic boots when she's not on the track. She can be found in the whirlpool each afternoon, and she's running better than ever.
She's doing really well right now, and I wouldn't trade places with anyone in this Breeders' Cup Disc Staff, and I think she's the horse to beat.
Thumb on the pulse of the horse world, working on these race horses. And what other horses do you specifically work on, or what disciplines?
Well, as I've developed and evolved my practice, it started out with the race horses, but wherever the racetracks are, there's always show horses. In New York, I would work on some polo horses that were up there, and as my practice is my tri-state area is New York, Kentucky, and Florida, and so I'm fortunate enough to work in horses in Wellington and Ocala. Whether they be the fancy ponies or the Grand Prix show jumpers. And that encompasses, I would say, maybe 20 to 25% of my practice at this point. It's still 75% racehorses.
Okay.
And when I'm in Saratoga, New York, there's rodeos that always go on there, so I work on some barrel racers and some...
Okay, all right, people like me.
Patent horses, yeah.
And besides the treatments that we're going to talk about today, you're still practicing veterinarian medicine as well?
Yes, it's always first and foremost when we are presented with a horse, a lame horse. And most of my practice is getting, the top line lame horses where they're just not quite right or they're just not pushing off. And some of my practice encompasses just some preventative. In other words, there might not be anything wrong. A horse I worked on just last week had just won the 10,000 last weekend up in Wellington. Ocala. And then, so it's just a matter of keeping their top line healthy so that the nerves are functioning well into the muscles, into the bones. So in other words, preventing perhaps injury from happening.
Okay. And top line specifically, you were talking above the legs?
That's pretty much my expertise, yes.
Okay.
And my father, again, a big thanks, because he was a surgeon as well as a top lameness expert, and his forte was top line lameness. And so he taught me to recognize that certain lamenesses can come not just from the knees and ankles and feet or hocks, that they can come from the mouth. And my favorite story there, as I was by his side watching, and he always would take the horses out and watch them on the track. This one day, a horse came out and was, nodding lame, and he didn't touch the legs. He just said, turn that horse around and get back in the stall. And he opened up the horse's mouth, and he reached in, pulled out a rotten tooth, threw it on the ground, and the horse walked out 1, 2, 3, 4. So it gave me another impression that we just don't have to, that head bobbing lameness could come from the head. But that also gave me a great awareness. And then I took it one step further and developed those techniques. And then all the other things that we'll be talking about are sort of ways to, the number one goal is to keep horses pain-free.
Yes.
And hopefully drug-free without using medications,
Okay.
but rather the tools that we now have available.
Cool. Well, it's all very interesting, and that's what we're going to spend the rest of the hour talking about. We've got Dr. Nancy Brennan here with us today talking about whole horse soundness and keeping the horse comfortable. Stick around. We'll be back with more on Horse Talk Live.